So my daughter and I, we're very close. We're very close, and it's gotten to the point where sometimes she can kind of predict what I'm gonna say and when I'm gonna say it, depending on the situation. It's because we've spent so much time together that she knows my personality and she knows my character. She knows that I'm a very careful person, and that's kind of one aspect of my personality. People have different sides of their personalities and different aspects of their personalities, and she knows that there's that one aspect of my personality that I'm a very careful person. I used to paint. I used to paint exterior, and we would go up maybe 3 or 4 stories high, and we would climb ladders. And I learned to make sure that my shoes aren't wet or my hands aren't wet when I'm climbing the ladder, because if they are wet, then I could slide off and fall on the ground. I don't have any harness or anything like that. My daughter knows that about me. She can kind of tell, you know what I mean? So every time we go to the park, I tell her, all the time, be careful, watch your step, when you're playing on the monkey bars. And it's kind of like my personality, my character, because I'm such a careful person, because that's one of the aspects of my personality. That's kind of become the rule of thumb for her, I would expect her to be the same way. And would it make sense if I'm the careful parent and I teach her to be reckless, right? It doesn't make sense, because it's something that I don't believe in. And I'm pretty sure, 99% positive that never happens with a parent-child relationship. I'm pretty sure that the parent's personality is like the rule of thumb or like the template for the kid, or for the daughter or the son. And so when we go to the park, it kind of amazes me to see her living that principle or acting out that principle. And it kind of becomes her command to other kids there. Be careful, watch your step. And it's kind of like she's watched me act that principle out so many times that her personality is being molded into that same personality, that same principle. And I don't think I forced her to be that way. It's just that when she's around me, she's watching me and she's inspired by the principles that I believe in, that she also does the same things I do. She also believes in the same principles I believe in. And that's because she takes it all in. Her brain is like a sponge. And so it's almost like I'm leading her by example, and her personality becomes more and more like mine each day that she's with me, each day that she comes closer to me. In the Bible, love and the 10 Commandments are one and the same. Jesus said the 2 greatest commandments are love God and love your neighbor. Jesus said, if you love me, keep my commandments. He said, if you love me, who is he? He's God. And at the time that he said that, he was also our neighbor. Romans 13 verse 10 says, love is the fulfilling of the law. So when we love, we are fulfilling the law, the 10 Commandments. We show our love for God by keeping the first 4 commandments, and we show our love for our neighbor by keeping the last 6 of the commandments. Love and the 10 Commandments are one and the same. And 1 John 4:8 says, God is love. That's who he is. He didn't say God is loving. Although we do know that God is loving, that is truth. But this particular text says God is love. That's who he is. That's his character. That's his personality. And that is why Jesus is so faithful to the 10 Commandments. And that is why Jesus was so faithful to his Father. Because he is love. That's his character. Love being the 10 Commandments. The 10 Commandments is embedded in him. He cannot help but to be faithful to that. He cannot help but to keep the 10 Commandments. 2 Corinthians 3:18 says this, we all, with open face, beholding as in a glass the glory of the Lord, are changed into the same image from glory to glory, even as by the Spirit of the Lord. So by beholding we are changed. And when we focus on Christ so much, when we read about Christ so much, and we take inspiration from his life, we become molded, our characters become molded and become transformed into his character. And I know that this might sound cliche, but when we focus on Christ so much, we're gonna start to live a what would Jesus do type of life. Our characters will transform into His character. Our personalities will become like His personality because He is our template. He is our rule of thumb. God is love. Love would become our principle. And it would be like keeping the 10 Commandments would be automatic. It wouldn't even be second nature. It'd be first nature. It'd be our character to keep the 10 Commandments. And just like how my daughter sees me being careful, she takes in that principle and applies it to her personality. And when we learn about Jesus Christ so much, and we take inspiration from His life, we take His personality and His principles and we fit it into our personality until we become like Him. Because by beholding, we are changed, we are transformed, and we become more like Christ.